When we first started the competition, what really struck us about the brief was Art Jameel's commitment to community initiatives and actually to promote, of course, artists from the region, but also in a sense, as a community centre that brings art to the local community. So in a sense that really struck us as quite an interesting and important brief, important aspect of the brief. And immediately we thought that, okay, how could we then look at precedents within the region, architecturally, in terms of its building types, that gives about this sense of intimacy, where people could come together to learn, but also have a certain social character in the space. So the reference that we actually looked at was the Sha'abi houses, right, of the region, as you know. They're very modest houses, but very beautifully composed. It's essentially made up of rooms, right, that are placed loosely together surrounding courtyards, right, and capturing courtyards. And we thought that these two moments were very important, a certain sense of intimacy, but also the ability to create communal and social spaces. So with the Jameel Arts Centre you see here, essentially it's created out of the accumulation of galleries and workspaces around courtyards, right? Whether the courtyards are enclosed or adjacent courtyards. So these courtyards we felt is very important, not only for its social function, for people to use, to mingle, to strike conversation, but also we treat it almost as a horizontal canvas, a blank canvas, and in which, of course, sculpture artwork could be placed on it. And of course, working with Anoop Vogel, she almost treated the courtyard as blank canvas in which plants, desert plants from different parts of the world, are composed and curated as it were sculptures and art objects. So we thought that worked very well, and here we are as well, talking in this courtyard. So that's the key concept of the building, and of course the other one is, of course, to make the galleries incredibly open. If you see museums and galleries, they're always inward looking. So we wanted a gallery, despite its climate, to be incredibly open and transparent. So one way was, of course, to bind the boxes together with a one-story colonnade that defines the perimeter of the site. And this colonnade, of course, is open, and it creates a transition space between the promenade, the sculpture park, and all the surrounding. So that even if you are not entering the building, you are invited, in a sense, to occupy the colonnade, to stay in the colonnade. And of course, the programs within the building, in a sense, also spills out to the colonnade itself. When we started the project, this was all completely barren. And of course, the building is sitting really right at the tip of the site. So of the peninsula. So we thought what was very important was that, especially for waterfront, how do we begin to activate the waterfront, right, and the edges of the water, and especially again with a gallery space that tends to internalize everything, right? Visitors are inside, and all the exhibits are inside. So if you see, when you walk along the colonnade, of course the colonnade in a sense does that. It brings program out into this colonnade. It draws people into the colonnade from the outside. So this interface space, the colonnade, is a pocher space in a sense that makes that interaction possible, that brings life to the promenade. The other part was that if you see that some of the courtyards in the building are internalized, shared between galleries, but there are also several courtyards that are actually shared between the building and also the colonnade. So in the sense that when you walk past the waterfront, you actually encounter this beautiful courtyards with the desert plants. So yeah, in the sense that we feel that with the programming, with the colonnade, and with the partial revealing of the courtyard, the site and the waterfront becomes activated. Series of iterations and consideration, and we move from in the beginning from thinking about using or experimenting with plaster, which is very common in the region, to something which is incredibly, I would say, modern and recent in its technology. So we felt that perhaps a more minimal and clean expression on the facade was more appropriate. So we used an aluminium cladding, but it's an aluminium cladding that is slightly reflective, that has a blurred reflection, and actually when it catches the sun, it creates a hue that ranges from bluish cyan to all the way to golden yellow. So it has very special moments at different times of the day. And we've also felt that it's very important when we use a cladding like this to avoid, the nasty mastic joints you see all over the region. And if you see, the building is actually clad by an incredibly thin aluminium piece, 3 mil in thickness, almost without any joints. It's an open joint, and it almost clad the building almost like a sheet of paper, a 6-meter high sheet of paper. So this thinness actually we felt made the bulk of the gallery incredibly light. Keeping out this direct sun was very important. So if you see from the south facade, although the south facade is where you actually approach the building, there's hardly any windows. There's only one window actually. That's very deliberate because we didn't want to gain any heat from the south sun. So all the large openings that you see, you'll be very surprised when you see there's so much large openings, but those openings are actually facing the north. So they bring natural light in, but without the direct heat gain. And also we brought a lot of clerestory windows to bring daylight into the gallery. So that's about opening and heat gain through glass. And the other one, of course, is that the huddling of the different masses together creates self-shading in the courtyard. So I'm talking to you now in the courtyard. It's almost it's about 11 a.m., right? And you can see that it's completely shaded, incredibly beautiful light, and it's so comfortable sitting out here. So the courtyards are self-shading in that sense. And also the courtyard sitting in the middle of the building mass, and if you look up the courtyard, it's almost creating a chimney effect, right? Where at almost 3 parts of the courtyard, all these doors could be slide open, and also on the other side of the galleries and spaces, air could be drawn in from the ground floor and it can rise up through the courtyard. It's almost like your traditional wind cooling wind towers, right? But of course, using the courtyard to do that. So on the ground floor, it has the ability to be actually naturally ventilated. But of course, with the galleries, we have made them to be could be naturally ventilated. But because of the precious nature of the artwork, and then because of humidity, it has to be climate controlled. But it's passively designed to be self-ventilated, self-cooling. People who visited the building in the past 2 days were saying that, wow, this is very un-Dubai in a sense, because it's so understated and it's so calm, and some even call it serene when they went through the spaces. And so yes, we intended that way. We always felt that our architecture, and of course here for the Jameel Arts Centre, we feel that architecture sometimes should play the role of a background as an open structure where it serves as a backdrop for the life of the building to unfold. So it is the artists, the visitors, the courtyards, the plants that in a sense stands out. Precisely it stands out because the building offers that backdrop. As you move through the building, you could still see, although it's so understated, that there's a certain profound serenity, right? That I feel that sometimes is lost, when you enter a gallery and you enter this endless loop of a never-ending exhibition space. Whereas I think here in the Jameel Arts Centre, the gallery is always experienced next to the courtyard. So in the sense that you experience art and landscape or nature in alternation. So you move from one gallery to the courtyard to another gallery and again back to the courtyard. So this alternation occurs in a loop, and you will never feel that you are detached from the surrounding from outside.